Welcome back to another episode of Jacksonville Buzz's Buzzworthy Business. This morning I'm sitting with Phillip Ayles from Ayles Solution, LLC. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
I got the last name right. I will never forget it, coming from an Army cop. All right, so we have a few things to talk about today.
Yes.
So before we get going, thank you for your service to our great country. We're going to talk about police, fire, and military today, and how you're helping them. I grew up in a police, fire, and Army family.
Yes.
So all the things that you're talking about, we could probably go on for an hour discussing what you do. For our audience that may not have grown up, you are, or were, as a retired military police officer for the United States Army.
Yes.
You're MP.
Yes.
Now, you're just not the cops of the military. You actually help other organizations from around the world understand how to organize a police force in your career, correct?
Yes, actually, yes.
So now, you retired.
Yes.
You've done your 20, 25.
24.
You bled for our country.
Yes.
Why are you, and what are you doing now for our new vets, my brother being one of them, as they're transitioning to life or police and fire? What do you do?
Well, what I do is I coach them in self-awareness, along with emotional intelligence and mindfulness, to basically understand where you fit at in this world. The past that's what I did in the past. And I realize that I'll never do it in the future again. Now what? And law enforcement, firefighters, first responders, EMTs, military, and everything, we're taught to live in chaos.
Right.
So no one else has to. And when you're in that environment, it's that adrenaline rush and everything that you get, because I got into law enforcement. Who doesn't like running code?
Right.
But when you afterward and when you're done, I have nothing but time to think about it.
Right.
And that's where the depression gets in, because you're no longer doing those high speed things anymore. It's about getting back into, what do I really want out of this world?
Well, and if you look at it from two perspectives, right?
Yes.
So civilian life,
Yes.
and then non-civilian life. So what emergency operation procedure number one? What do you do if you're getting shot at? You duck.
Yes.
Right. But later, right, you think about, well, gosh, if you got hit or if you just got missed,
Yes.
2 millimeters this way or that way, you may not be. You get to think about that stuff. But in the moment when you are unfortunately in a firefight,
Yes.
or as a firefighter, every time you get on that bus, you're in trouble, because that fire is coming out to get you.
Yes.
Because fire is as much alive as a human being. It almost seems like it has a way to think. And growing up in a fire department
Yes.
family, yes, Christmas parties were competitions with my dad's friends on how burnt your ears were. Now, these are in days where they didn't have as much of the protective gears, right?
Yes.
So there's a different universe. But firefight or fire,
Yes.
or being mortared in the middle of the night. There's a lot of things going on right now internationally.
Yes.
When you're in it, you just do it to it.
Well, what I found out when I initially got to Iraq as a military, the mortars would come in, you scatter, run every different directions, train, because you're not used to it. What we found out was sometimes you stay where you're at.
Because they can't shoot straight, is what I hear.
No, they don't aim. They just shoot. And a lot of times you'll run into it rather than just staying where you're at and letting it hit wherever it's going to hit. And I've noticed a lot of the ones that have been over there for a while, we started to get to where we didn't panic at all.
Right, and so for the folks that may not understand what that means, a mortar
Yes.
is a launched munition
Yes.
that is designed to explode and kill everything within a 20-foot, 30-foot radius.
Yes.
And you're thinking about that like a mosquito. You're just like, whatever. At
Yes.
a desensitization. And when you get hurt, we get hurt in the States, right? Oh, I got a paper cut. But when you get hurt in the military or fire department, police department, you may not have body parts. And unfortunately, some of the scars you can't see on the outside.
And that's what I want to deal with.
So what is it that you do to help transitioning, whether it's police, fire, military, that are in that desensitized training where they're, a mortar's coming by and they're just like, yeah, whatever. How do you help them re-engage into civilian life so that they can have a fulfilling fulfilling life with their family or in a new profession?
Well, I look at it as being able to communicate with them effectively and efficiently to where they understand you and you understand the civilians. And I think that communication barrier, because there's things that a lot of us don't talk about unless you're with another military fire or first responder, that because they understand. And a lot of times you'll find out we don't want to scare them, because we are, when we get out and doing our job, you don't know what's going to happen. But if you prepare for it and you learn to control those emotions, because a lot of times I was on a hairline trigger. I didn't realize the impact I had on the people around me when I would get upset. Well, when a lot of veterans get upset, we're aggressive.
Because that's how you survived.
Yes. And you have to be that way in that environment. But what do you do when I'm home now?
Right.
I don't have anybody more.
Right, and your daughter doesn't want to turn the channel on the TV, so you miss the football game.
Yes.
And all of a sudden, in your mind, you go to the training of, well, that's a mortar strike.
Yes.
And now all of a sudden you act appropriately. And you might freak them out, and it's not that you're freaking them out, it's just what you've been trained to do.
Yes.
So I really appreciate what you're doing. And we could go on for another segment talking about veterans suicide rate, because that's a big problem. That's a big one, right?
Yes.
Love to have you come back on. I've had some own issues with my own family and friends that have gone through, been deployed, came back, and decided that that's a route they wanted to go, and the impact, right?
Yes.
So helping them get out of the battlefield into either the boardroom or the battlefield into the kitchen table is what Ayles, like a bunch of beers, does.
Yes.
Well, Sergeant Ayles, thank you for your service to our great country, sir. Thank you for coming on the show. You come back anytime, talk about any of these people. Guys, please support your veterans. If you like us, share us on Buzzworthy Business. My name is Steve Strum. Thank you so much again for coming. And for everybody who watches this, thank you for your service to our great country, whether it's green, blue, or red.